I'm just, and I think I'm speaking for a lot of people when I say this, I'm never going to be emotionally stable again. I mean, it might take me a week to get back to being emotionally prepared to. I just. So, obviously, it's Saturday. So that means it's a Doctor Who day. And it just. I got onto the live stream a little bit late, but. um. Basically, Rory gets sent back to 1938. And it was. Oh my god, this episode was absolutely heartbreaking. Just so what happens is that Rory and Amy go off to Manhattan with the doctor, present day, just nice little adventure. And the doctor has this book that he doesn't know how it got there, but it's called Melody Malone. And they start to read it, and all these things start to happen because once you read it, it's set in stone. You can't change, the time cannot be rewritten at this point. So Rory gets set back in time to 1938, and he finds River, and he gets tossed into a basement. But and all this time, the Doctor and Amy are trying to figure out how to communicate how they're going to get to Manhattan in 1938, which they do manage to do, thanks to some help of a Chinese artifact. But just and then because Rory is only touched by like a cherub, so that's essentially a baby weeping angel, he is transported in another into like a different space, but not time. So they find him, and you just have this absolutely heartbreaking scene where Rory, an older version of Rory, is in his bed dying, and he sees Amy for what has been the first time in a long time, and upon seeing her, he dies peacefully. At which point the doctor realizes that this is a fixed point and it can't be changed, and that Amy can't go with Rory. So what happens is that Rory essentially tries to create a paradox in that if he dies in 1938 as a 32-year-old man, he will then break the cycle, the weeping angels will go away, and all will be good. And you have this heartbreaking scene where he is trying to get Amy to push him off the roof, and she just absolutely refuses to do it and says that they're going to do it together. And the doctor, just who has at this point seen that the chapter titles in the book is what is going to happen, and that the last chapter is Amelia's final farewell, and is already completely destroyed over that because he knows that it's coming, but he just wants to prevent it at all costs, even though he knows at this point it's a fixed point. And they climb up on the roof together, and Rory and Amy jump, and this is horrible slow motion scene where the doctor is just losing it, and we're all losing it because Amy Bond just did not want to live without Rory, so she jumped off a roof. And then you have this moment of relief when they are all back in Manhattan in 2012 in a graveyard, which is where him and the doctor wound up before when they tried to get to 1938 in the TARDIS. And you think everything is happy, and Amy and Rory are gonna go back and live their normal lives, and this is the end of their adventures with the doctor. And then Rory gets touched by a weeping angel, and he gets sent back, and then his name appears on the headstone, and you see that he has now died. And it's just this heartbreaking few moments where Amy, distraught at the thought of leaving Rory forever, and the doctor does not want her to try and go back, which I think is something very, because as we learned from last week, she's always going to be, like, for this regeneration, the most important person, because he's always a drawback, and he heartbreakingly says, if you do this, I will never be able to see you again, because they created such a paradox that if the TARDIS were to try to go back to 1938 Manhattan, or any point, then they would not work, and he would never be able to see them there. So ultimately what happens, and I don't know why Moffat couldn't arrange it so that the doctor would be able to go back to 1940 and write a letter to them, and send a note to Manhattan and help, and knowing that they would find it and that they would meet. I just don't know why Moffat couldn't arrange for that, and it just is heartbreaking. He will never see his Amy Pond again, and I was just not okay with that being how it ended. And you also, for the first time, you hear River call Amy mom in a sincere way, not like a mommy dearest or whatever, just sincere, like, and she wants her parents to be together, which I think is something like wonderful. Um, and she just, there's no poor head kiss, there's no hug, it's just a bye, and it ruined me, and I don't think I'm gonna be okay for a couple days because Amy Bond was the first companion I've gone on this journey with the Doctor with, and it's just going to take time for me to truly accept that this is the end and that they are dead. They're dead. They're dead, and the Doctor is never gonna see them again, and it's a very it's a grieving process that we're gonna have to go through. So I have completely my support goes out to everyone, and I hope that it comes back. So that is all. Fairly well.